All right, everybody, with now Super Typhoon Bolivin, a thing of the past. One of the angles we wanted to kind of peruse, at least for a moment, was how the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association handled that. Coming off of Typhoon Mawar 5 months ago, they learned a lot. They've applied a lot. This is the private sector, very, very progressive. Of course, the president is Mary Rhodes here, and she kind of spearheaded and kept us all informed in the media and what was going on with our restaurants, hospitality, companies. And Mary, you guys did a sterling job, I must say. How do you feel about it?
Well, thank you very much. I mean, Guam definitely is blessed in the Marianas in the fact that the storm, did not become a major typhoon on its path towards Guam. I know that it is a super typhoon now, so we are very grateful, especially coming off of Typhoon Mawar, that this typhoon or this storm passed through Guam as a tropical storm. And, thinking about the Marianas and Saipan and Rota, of course, we pray that, everybody recovers well and their systems come back all online and everybody's is safe and doing well. But certainly GHRA plays a role together with other nonprofit organizations during emergencies with Homeland Security. And so we do have our systems in place and we practice them. We put them into practice, especially during these activities during the tropical season. So I know that they were saying we're going to have 5 cyclones in our system throughout this year. And it's important to note that everybody needs to really prepare, knowing that we are in this season of typhoons coming into our area. And so GHRA has continued to work with its members and private sector and the government of Guam to ensure that we are communicating regularly, sending out all of the JIC information, and with partner with National Weather Service in making sure everybody is preparing 72 hours in advance, 48 hours, 12 hours. We go through all of those core condition of readiness processes right before to ensure that everybody is really prepped and ready to take care of our guests.
And here's the little side story, boys and girls watching this. Mary and I basically grew up together. She was sending me all of these messages. Jace, please get this out ASAP about which restaurants are open, who's doing what was closed. And I think it is an important thing to note, Mary, that you guys actually have different tiers, whether it's going to be a typhoon or a tropical storm, about how much you prepare and which businesses take corrective action and to what degree.
Correct. And a lot of the businesses, they will make their decision if they're going to operate during regular hours during a tropical storm versus a typhoon. Although Core 1 means, it's here, and Core 2 is within 12 hours. So it's certainly up to the businesses. But since we were in tropical storm, some of the businesses had limited hours. So it's important to get that information out to the media and to the government of Guam, especially for businesses and government agencies that have first responders, or like the utility agencies, where all of those people who have to continue to work through storms or typhoons or any other type of situation, that they know who's currently open operating and who can handle the contracts when it comes to feeding our first responders and utility agencies, and even all our telecoms, the fuel service companies, everybody who works through these disasters or types of incidences. We are able to provide services. And so that's why we play such a major role in not just lodging, is also feeding the food commodities, making sure the distributors are out there, as well as the restaurants in operating during these critical times.
That's a good point, because I mean, it's hard for a kitchen staff to cook food that they don't have. So somebody's got to go make the runs and make those deliveries.
Right. And so it's important to share information during emergencies, and that, the information really runs the full gamut, right? And so we saw that, we learned from that with Typhoon Mawar, especially with petroleum, with the telecom companies, and of course food, that all these ancillary type services that provide support to the entire island, not just the government, but the entire island, is really important. And remember, we still have FEMA here who are working not just on Guam, but throughout the Marianas because of Typhoon Mawar. Rota was also hit with that. And so we have a lot of FEMA personnel still on the island who've been here for months, and we're still providing contracts to each of those agencies. So federal, local, naval, military, they all need those support services. So we have to continue to share information, and it's an honor to do so during such time.
Well, you brought up utilities just a moment ago, Mary, and let me ask you because I know one of the kind of side stories about Maywar, again, almost a half year ago, was the fact that all of the hotels and lodging establishments along Hotel Row, it was really scary because I know water was a big thing because I mean they all share the same reservoir, they all tap from the same reservoir. Were there processes or discussions in place leading up to this one, even though it was, we say just a tropical storm, but to make sure that that could be handled in a more equitable way?
Yeah, one of the challenges we found was because of coming off of COVID and our tourism numbers really aren't at peak, that a lot of the hotels and other types of businesses didn't really keep water wells or fuel tanks at full capacity. And so those have, they practice their protocols, and they ensured that a lot of those tanks and water tanks, fuel tanks are topped off. And so I think that even the contractors with those service companies, like with petroleum and with water, that they continue to service those areas of need, because they have those tanks to not only handle just regular emergencies, but in any shortages. And as you know, we've had load shedding. There are times when even GWA has maintenance on the water wells. And so even then they have to go offline from the city water. And so I think just learning through all of these disasters, we have a lot of people who are, at the age of 20 and below, and they haven't been through these major disasters. So it's really good to learn, for everybody to learn that you have to continue to have your contingency plans, but also practice them and put them into practice, especially when it's not an emergency, and to walk through training all of your employees and making sure that they understand what these emergency protocols are really for during non-emergencies, and really train your employees to understand where things are at and what are the
That's a great
protocols.
point.
Because they practice fire every year, right? They practice the fire drills every year. They practice other types of safety type of protocols throughout the year. And so it's important to understand during earthquakes, fire, tropical storms, typhoons, it's the same kind of things we go through each time, and to have redundant systems each time to ensure that
Yeah.
we can operate business, within the same parameters, knowing that we're going to have some constraints for a couple of days before the government can get to us, especially
And
with private
as they
sector.
say, there is no better teacher in the world than experience. And now all of these young hospitality staffers now have, two storms under their belt. They've got one really, really bad one and one which wasn't so
Right.
bad, at least for us. And we were very, very blessed for that.
Yeah, one of the things though we have realized, and I think even GPA has realized, because we are supposed to be assisting them with the load shedding at times, and what we've found is that a lot of the properties are still, even dealing with the after effects of Typhoon Maywar, where a lot of their replacement parts or redundant systems aren't all together yet. They're still waiting for those to arrive, and so not everybody is fully up to par with regards to even power redundancy. And so it's very difficult for us as an industry to, we've tried with GPA during some of the load shedding. Some of the hotels have been assisting for those who are fully capable to do so. But we're still a long way from getting everybody fully recovered and having their full redundant systems back in place. But I know that everybody's working hard, as well as the government Guam, to ensure that we can all, have normal operations. And so that will take some time, and building the capital to even come up with newer systems would be even more of a challenge, especially with Guam's slow recovery
Right.
with tourism. So
Okay.
just
Now,
all of those things come into play.
Okay, now final question, Mary, because I got to let you go because at any given moment of the day, you're either in a board meeting or you're doing a presentation or you're putting together some amazing rock solid strategy or you're doing a golf tournament. But you taught business at the University of Guam for many many years, and you educated many young minds in assessment, right? In your own honest opinion, what grade would you give how the business community, specifically the hotel and restaurant community here, how they handled the recent tropical storm?
The tropical storm, I think everybody did really well. We didn't have any incidences. So I would say, again, everybody performed really, really well. I would say definitely an A, but we've been very lucky. We were graced with a lighter system that passed through our area. And so, part of it is preparation. Part of it is actual implementation of your plans during that time, but part of it is also nature. We were blessed this time, and so I think it's really more important that everybody continue to prepare and continue to replace or upgrade their systems so that they can always be prepared for any type of emergency at any time, because Guam is in a very remote area, so getting supplies to the island can be very challenging. And so I think everybody has learned through that, and it's been a great response to date.
Absolutely.